I repositioned my jack. All the fasteners are out, side cover comes off. This wire's in my way. Not anymore. Jack it up a hair more. This car has an AC line in the way up here. I'm just going to kind of gently push it out of the way with my hand and see if I can work it on out. Side cover comes off, gasket is really fused on there. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to kind of look it over, make sure it's not broken. There's a gasket that goes in the cover that seals around here. Check that out. Here's your shift solenoids here. Be very careful with these clips. They're very fragile and they'll break very easily. If you break them, you'll have to replace a whole harness or super glue in there or zip tie them on there or something not fun. These pull right out. Shift solenoid comes out. PCS. Very carefully undo that one. Upper shift solenoid, same way. Pop these clips. Don't lose these clips. You'll be hating life. Make sure you remember the orientation, how it slips in there. Connectors this way. And just dig these clips out. Maybe. There's the old pressure control solenoid. New parts going back in. Seat it. If you don't think it's seated, check with a screwdriver or something, you'll see it. Alright. PCS is in. Clip goes in. Gloves are well torn. Shift solenoid. Most of the time these things dump transmission fluid out the side the whole entire time you have it apart. For some reason this one is not. I did drain the fluid out of the pan, but even so, most of the time it drips out. So I just replaced 2 shift solenoids and the pressure control solenoid. TCC is right here, and this pressure plate here. This is an older car, 2001 or 2 or something like that. So the newer ones are really small. I'm gonna start putting this thing back together. Time to fight with the side cover. Like I said, I'm gonna reuse this gasket. I checked it out. It doesn't look torn anywhere. It's pretty fused on there, so I'm not gonna mess with it trying to take it off. I'll break it if I do, and I'll have to replace it, which I don't want to spend the $50 or $60 on. At this point, I have no jack underneath the cradle. I'm just holding up the transmission with the jack. So I can press this right down like that. Get around my AC hose, or AC tube. And try to get this back in there. without breaking anything. This AC tube on this car is making this a chore. Alright, make sure it seats properly. No wires are hanging out like your ABS wire or something. And we'll start putting our bolts back in. When I do these, I just get them started. Every single one of them, get them started, and then zip them all down. So back that one out of here. If it doesn't feel like it starts properly, back it off, restart it. You can use hand tools on this, but I got this cool DeWalt 18 volt, so I'm going to use that. Oops. Top one I'll get here in a couple of minutes. Start these bottom ones by hand just because. Be careful when you tighten these things down. If you tighten them too tight, you'll crack the side cover and you'll have to take it all apart again. I've done that once. And I don't want to do it again, so just going to snug all these down. I'm not sure the torque spec on these. I'm going to use snug. Feel free to torque them to whatever factory spec is. top one we'll get later. Torque that one to factory specs. Okay, tires underneath the cradle along with a block of wood. Lower the jack down. Pop this back in place. Put your fingers in there, obviously. Time for a new jack. Cradle. There's these little hockey puck looking things that sit on top of there. Make sure those are in place, front and back. And a jack, and we go. I'm not going to put this up all the way. I still have to put my suspension back together. Get that swivel joint back in the steering. So I put her up all the way, drop it down a hair so I can put my suspension back in place.